every sense of the word, Southeast Michigan is one of the most diverse regions in America. But are the opportunities for youth sports diverse enough for the 1.1 million children and teenagers living in our 7-county area? Today on Spotlight, a new and eye-opening report on our state of play. And later, what's on tap this summer in downtown Detroit's state-of-the-art parks as the newest one gets ready for its big grand opening. Katie Brazan, Bob Gregory, and Brian Nuno will be our guests. It's Sunday, July the 16th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight from the Cube. State of play, one of our topics today on Spotlight from here at the Cube. Joining me is Katie Brazan. She is with the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan. Welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
New report. Interesting report. Not all roses in it, but certainly some good and some bad. Why this report and why now? So
this report was commissioned by the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. You may know that Ralph lived in Detroit, but he owned the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
And he passed away a few years ago, left a $1.2 billion foundation. So they're just getting started, and one of their priority areas is youth sports. So what they did is partner with the community, our community foundation here and the Buffalo Community Foundation to say we really need to do a thorough scan and understand what are the needs in youth sports, because they're going to be grant making for the next 20 years in this space. And we too, as the Community Foundation, have an interest in making sure local voices are heard in that process.
Okay, I know David Eckner, who's now over the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation. I know Miriam Nolan, who from the Community Foundation, who you get to work with on a day-to-day basis. Those are two big entities coming together. What did you find? What were the findings in this report?
So what we found, and this really looked at the whole 7 counties, and I should say we listened to thousands of voices from parents, kids, parks and rec departments, you name it. And we had a local group of people who guided the study.
And it was an independent study.
Yes, we commissioned the Aspen Institute as a project play team that works nationally on youth sports. They're the ones that came in and interviewed everyone, but we had a local task force of experts from Parks and Rec, from the pro teams, from other places that directed them. So what did we learn? We learned that only 13% of the youth in our region are active on a day-to-day basis. The CDC...
Only 13%?
13%. The CDC recommends 1 hour a day of exercise, and only 13% of kids are getting that right now. Even less for girls, it's 11%.
Wow.
We know that if we could just get that up to 25%, we would have $1 billion in medical savings in this community in the lifetime of those kids.
So this is not just about athletics, it's not just about sports, this is about overall health, and it's a dollar and cents issues for this community.
It absolutely is, right. So athletes, non-athletes should pay attention to this study. People without kids should pay attention to this study, because it's really about the whole community being healthier and saving money and being more productive citizens over time.
The report found that we're doing some things well.
Yep.
What?
So what are we doing well? So we have we have 4 pro sports teams right downtown, right, with Pistons come in.
One of the few cities to do so.
They are all doing great things with kids. They're very active, but there's more we could do together. So there's a good example if we can keep leveraging each other's activities. We have a lot of great nonprofit organizations that are specialized in different sports. We have Rack It Up on squash. We have the downtown boxing gym for youth, Midnight Golf, places like that. But we really need to look at what's working and how do we scale it on a big level. And then we really need to look at, for kids, especially in rural areas and in urban, the issues of transportation, the issues of sports that cost money, you know, so how do you give access to those kids?
Katie, how much are our mobile phones playing into this? I mean, I'm seeing kids all the time very much engaged in this mobile technology. And I think back to my youth, when we didn't have that, in summertime, especially this type of weather, we were outside and we were outside playing, and that was our entertainment, and it wasn't electronics. I don't want to put it all on that, but is that playing some role in this, just the technology of our world today?
Yeah, so sure, that's playing a role in in kids spending more time sitting on the couch. However, I think we feel strongly we need to be learning from technology. They know what kids want. They want something right now. They want to feel good about themselves. So how can we actually use technology to our advantage? So we've been talking about some programs that actually use technology to get kids out too.
Okay.
So I think the bigger issues here though are really about access to sports. You see the rise of travel teams, which are for kids that can pay for them, that can get to them.
Right.
And so what do you do for the kids that don't have that? It's also dangerous to have kids specialize in one sport so young. So one of our recommendations is you really want to have kids sample different kinds of sports, especially before the age of 12. So how do we give them a wider range of options?
All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about this
Okay.
very important topic right after this break. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. Okay, Katie, we've talked about the problem, what we're doing right, some of the challenges. What are the solutions?
So the great thing this report does is that it offers 8 solutions. We call them the 8 plays that communities can look at and figure out how to adapt for their communities. So those include things like thinking small. By think small, we met Nancy Windsor, who runs the Port Huron Rec Department. She puts out baskets of balls at each of the park. It's a simple thing, but the balls are there. It gets the kids more active playing so that if somebody steals them, great. We'll refill the bins with more balls, you know, thinking that way. We also are thinking about asking kids what they want, right? The grown-ups think about what makes sense, but remember the demographics of our region are changing. So we heard from kids that want archery, and in Pinckney they offer archery. We hear from kids that want Indian dancing lessons. It's not always the traditional sports we're thinking about. So another thing is really the importance of training all coaches, right? And how important coaches are in the lives of kids. So we did learn that Michigan State has a great training program for coaches. So that's one thing we're looking at is, again, how do you scale good programs to the wider area?
And we should emphasize that this report was not just for Detroit, even though we have downtown out of our window here. It was for the 7-county region.
Yes.
All right, and so that's a wide range, and that's a lot of different type of parks and open spaces for sports and for kids.
It is. It absolutely is. And what we learned is while there are some solutions unique to different communities, there's some that we might want to think about on a regional basis. So like one thing we saw is that Southeast Michigan likes action sports. Kids like to skateboard. It was much higher than Buffalo on that point. Well, we should embrace that. Let's build some more skate parks. Because kids are more likely to wear helmets there. It's an inexpensive sport. So things like that you could think of in lots of different communities in the region.
Cost. Was it expensive to do this type of report?
Was it expensive? I think it was worth the cost. I don't think it was too expensive. And again, we had a lot of volunteers. So our local task force included folks from the Lions and the Tigers. It included Parks and Rec Department people. It included board members from the Y. They all gave their time as volunteers. In a second, we're going to be talking about the newest downtown park to be opening up, as well as all the other parks in downtown and all the summer activity. But I've noticed that in preparing these new parks as well as the existing ones, a lot of consultation, I should say, has gone on between the Downtown Detroit Partnership and Community Foundation and other organizations giving these corporations advice on how to incorporate this stuff when you're trying to do these new public spaces. Well, that I would say, what a great opportunity for Detroit, right? And having the Pistons come back downtown, making a commitment to the parks too. So I'm really excited about the opportunity for us to all work together and think about those spaces. Think about things like, do we add baskets with balls in them, right? Or if you're going to do a basketball court, do we also look at tennis, or do we look at skateboarding options? You know, so thinking about making sure there's a variety for kids and in neighborhoods where there's not a lot of opportunities, so kids can walk again, like you said. You know? Right. And as the Illages develop that 40 different blocks over there near their headquarters, you know what their passion is involved with sports. So that's going to be a key component of all the other different type of multi-use development as well. Good. Katie, thank you so much for coming in, pulling together the report. It's something that we should pay great attention to because kids
are our future. All right.
All right.
And coming up, we'll talk to Bob Gregory and Brian Nuno. They'll be talking about public spaces in downtown and the newest one that'll be coming online in just a few days. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now down here at the Cube is a man who spends his life downtown, Bob Gregory with the Downtown Detroit Partnership. And welcome to Spotlight, Bob.
Thanks, Chuck. Glad to be here as usual.
Well, it's summertime, no doubt about it. And that's a time that really gets you excited because you kick into high gear. Not that you aren't busy throughout the year, but even more so with all the people down here trying to take advantage of the weather. Summer in the parks. 13th season?
13th season, Chuck. It's amazing that the 13th time we're doing this activity downtown. But it keeps expanding. So we're not just Campus Martius Park. It's Cadillac Square. It's probably one of the busiest places in the city right now. In Grand Circus Park, we're programming on Thursday nights. Capitol Park as well. The Esplanade, right outside the window here, is programmed. The new Spirit Plaza, right down next to Jefferson Avenue. So we keep expanding, and more people are utilizing these spaces.
Are you sensing, in a good way, a little competition between the various public spaces? Each person trying to make theirs the spot for everybody to come to?
Well, it's funny you ask that. I mean, we're actually now working, obviously, working with DTE and for the new Beacon Park, which is opening on July 20th. So that's going to be a great space with lots of people, lots of programming. But even the spaces we've been programming, there's the stakeholders around them are all trying to get more activity in their area. They're all growing their districts, they're growing their neighborhoods. So it is a little competition, but friendly, as you said.
Big picture wise, I mean, when you're sitting with the board or the staff at DTP, and you're trying to say, okay, where are we headed? Where are we going? What do we want downtown to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or even a year from now? What kind of discussions are you having in the role that public spaces play in all of this?
Great question, Chuck. And we know, because we've seen what happened here at Campus Martius, they play an unbelievable role in really creating density and creating activity, growing the economic base, growing jobs. And we've seen that at Campus Martius was nothing here. Now billions of dollars of new investment. We see that starting to happen around Grand Circus Park as well. So it's really, we work very closely with the mayor's office and the city planning department now, and we see downtown continuing to grow, not in housing and more residential. The jobs will follow that with all kinds of new restaurants, retail coming. It's not just about downtown, because we're growing the city because there's so many more jobs happening down here as well that Detroiters can use.
Quicken Loans has had a big footprint in all of this, as well as Bedrock. I remember Dan Gilbert telling me some years ago his Big Bang Theory. He said, I don't want the whole kit and caboodle, but I want to jumpstart it so that there is competition coming in here and everybody has their own thing that they can brag about. Do you see that happening?
We see that happening, I guess, even to the point where activity, obviously right in the core, it's been a lot of Dan Gilbert. It's unbelievable, the investments down here. But other folks are making investments. The Park Restaurant, all the restaurants are making individual millions of dollars of investment. You see other companies moving in here as well. You're seeing it over by the General Motors. The Renaissance Center is expanding, doing activities there too. So it's not just the Bedrock and the Gilbert team, although we're so light years ahead because of them.
If there's a city that you all sort of watch, model, maybe get a little mentorship from, what would it be? Or is there one?
I'm not sure there's one city, Chuck. We're always out there looking around. So we'll go to New York a lot. There's all great things happening throughout all parts of New York City. We'll go to Chicago. We'll go to the West Coast, over to Vancouver, to Seattle. There's pieces of San Francisco. There's a lot of good things. Even Cleveland's got a lot of activity as well. So we're always looking to do new things and innovate here too.
For someone who maybe hasn't been down here in a year or 2 years, or maybe not at all, what would you tell them are some highlights that you have to see? Because I know you got movies on Fridays. There's Fridays or Saturdays?
Saturday movies.
You got movies in the park.
Every day now, you come down to the park. We've got music. We've got the food trucks on Cadillac Square. Our Friday marketplace at Cadillac Square. You said the movies on Saturday night. We have our Fourth Friday series each month. We're doing a great series in Grand Circus Park now. It's got a vocalist and a piano and food trucks there as well. Brand new series there. So there's a lot going on, and our Downtown Detroit Parks.com is where you can find it all.
What worries you the most in all of this type of development and excitement?
Well, I think we're always, at DDP, we're trying to, we're working with the mayor and the leadership and our own board, always trying to make sure that we're inclusive. We're inclusive for the whole city. It's not just about downtown. It's about inclusivity. It's about diversity, making sure that everybody that's in the city and the neighborhoods and the region comes downtown. They enjoy it. This is downtown for them, not just for the people who work down here.
And do you get the sense that downtown is no longer just downtown? Downtown is indeed one of the many neighborhoods in Detroit.
It is one of the many neighborhoods, and even within downtown, there's several neighborhoods. So Capitol Park's its own neighborhood with several thousand people going to be living there, versus Grand Circus Park, versus over now by DT's Beacon Park. So it is about neighborhoods, it's about community, and we're always, and there's no simple answer to that. We're always working hard, to make sure all Detroiters can experience downtown.
Final quick question: is it safe to say the sky's the limit with downtown now?
Detroit and downtown are on a roll, Chuck. I mean, we travel around, as you mentioned, travel around the country looking at other cities. I think there's more activity happening in downtown Detroit right now than most other cities I've been to in the last couple of years.
All right, and that's a good thing. All right, you teed it up earlier talking about Beacon Park, the new DTE Energy Park. We're going to talk about that in just a second with Brian Nuno. We'll be right back. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Chuck.
And Spotlight continues. Now with me is Brian Nuno. He is, all right, let me give you this title. He's Manager of Strategy and Special Projects, Public Affairs, DTE Energy.
You got it right.
How in the world you get that on a business card?
We have to abbreviate a lot of DTE.
Okay, all right. It's an important title. Welcome to Spotlight.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for just coming down the road over here to downtown. You're in the western central part of downtown.
We are not too far away. Not just, like you said, just a quick 10-minute walk from me.
Right, as soon as you get off Bagley, you're right there at DTE Energy. New park opening up. You got a grand opening July 20th?
Yep, Thursday, July 20th. We'll be kicking it off with the opening ceremony at 11 a.m. and it'll be going all weekend through Sunday, July 23rd.
Brian, for the person that's watching at home saying, okay, so another public space, another park, you say to that, no, it's a whole lot more than that. And why is this big news?
It is big news for us, certainly. And I think, someone that would say that, I think what's important to realize is that parks really create a community. They create a neighborhood. And that's what we're trying to do over at DTE Energy and our, what you said, West Central, kind of downtown there. And it's important for us. And this park is going to be, I would say, similar to other parks that you've seen downtown in Detroit, kind of really a park on steroids, as we call it, with a lot of programming, a lot of activity, and really bringing together the community over there.
And this is kind of the corner of Cass and Grand River?
It is, at the corner of Cass and Grand River.
Okay, and I've been watching it over the last few months, and transforming that corner is amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you come downtown and do so. Beacon Park. All right, the word beacon, how did you come up with that name with all the names, and what's the meaning behind it?
Well, there were a lot of names on the table that we discussed internally as a group, and talked also externally with some people, some of our partners that we respected and have done this before. And so it really wasn't that hard when we got to it. When we went through all the names and talked through them all, Beacon really stood out to us because that's what we view this space. We view it as a beacon to bring people to have activity, to really showcase that part of the neighborhood, and it really will be a beacon for that community.
You're hoping it becomes a catalyst. It jumpstarts a lot of other ideas in that area and becomes sort of that next major area of downtown that's being developed, and in a fun way, in competition with Campus Martius that we see outside the window here.
For sure, and I think we certainly pulled Campus Martius into our modeling of this park, and certainly, everyone knows the economic development impact that Campus Martius has had here in the core of downtown, and that happens, it's not by accident. I mean, it happens all over the country where parks and green space and activity can help spur economic development in a neighborhood.
You're getting a lot of help with, one, the DTE Energy Foundation, also with the Downtown Detroit Partnership, Bob Gregory's organization that we just left here. Let's go through some of the nuts and bolts that people are going to see. First of all, that first week, I hear what is something like 50 different things are going to be happening there? We
do. We have a lot of activities going on those 4 days, again starting July 20th with a kind of a ribbon cutting ceremony, and then we'll showcase really the park and all the activities that can happen at the park over a year into 4 days. So it's going to be a lot of different types of activity, and you know, we have our work cut out for us and logistically trying to figure this out.
So you're going to have plenty of entertainment. You're going to have food there, a restaurant. You got a bunch of stuff coming through there, and you got different themes trying to appeal. It looks like to me when I was reading the press release, a little bit of everybody in this city. I mean, some people may be into gospel, some may be into funk, some may be into classical. You're going to have a little bit of everything there.
We will. That was one of our missions going into this park, and certainly trying to encompass that into this weekend. So yeah, you'll see a lot of diversity in the park. We want to bring, you know, it's about the visitors to downtown, it's about employees down here, and it's also about residents. So they all, you know, Detroit is a diverse group, and our community down here is diverse, and so we want programming to reflect that and draw those people in through those activities.
Two things that will be really new to downtown Detroit. One is the night market. What is that?
So the night market is actually something that's been successful in other cities throughout the country, and that we wanted to bring here that's not going on right now. And it's about kind of this makers independent market that happens at night, while there's also kind of indie music going on at the same time. So a fun atmosphere that you know, there's music and activity and all kinds of things going on all at the same time.
And that's open until 11 o'clock at night?
It will be, yes.
All right, Monday through Friday, or?
No, it'll be on Saturdays.
Until Saturdays.
It'll be on Saturdays.
All right. And then Impulse.
Yes.
What is that?
So Impulse is a great artistic light sound installation that we're bringing here. It hasn't been a lot of places in the United States, so we're happy that it's going to be coming here for the grand opening. And we'll be here for 6 weeks following that. And it's seesaws that basically light up and have sound with it, and are very fun and very interactive. And it brings out the child and even, you know, the oldest of person. So it'll be great. And I think you'll see a lot of people using it, from the little kids to old people, you know, all alike.
Yeah, well, we're putting some pictures on the screen so people can see it. It started in Montreal?
It did.
Canada?
It did, yep. It started in Montreal. It's been a couple places in the U.S. Most recently, I think it's Chicago and Navy Pier. And so we're happy to welcome it here to Detroit, and we think it'll be very successful. All
right. Brian, best of luck with downtown Detroit's newest park. Make sure you check it out. The highlights are coming up with all the groundbreaking just starting, as Brian mentioned. And if you can't make it to that, it's going to be there for hopefully the foreseeable forever, right?
Forever.
All right. We want to thank you at home for joining us. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more Newsmakers in the Spotlight. We hope you have a great week.